Here with Concordia head track and field coach Matt Beisel to preview the upcoming season first with indoor starting here in the middle of December with a home meet, the early bird meet. I know the fall semester is kind of a big one for preparing for that upcoming season for track and field. What are some of the highlights or some of the things that maybe you and your coaching staff have observed with how fall training has gone?
Yeah, well, fall track is a huge component of preparing for the track season, and a lot of people are like, well, when does indoor track begin? And I'm like, August. I get asked that all the time, like, when does your indoor season start? I'm like, August, when they get back. I mean, we have a lot of meetings, and then we're allowed to start practicing September 1st, and so 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. We have a lot of really good training that takes place. We lift 3 days a week, and again, a lot more general strength and preseason type stuff, but a lot of running on grass, hill workouts, things like that. And then as we get into October, that's when we start doing more technical stuff. So we start doing runway work and actually vaulting. We start doing blocks and hurdles and all the different throws. And then we intersperse that with things to sort of lighten up the training, because the nice thing about cross country is you get to compete every so often while you're training, but during the fall, like, they're all looking at December going, oh, I can't wait to actually see what I can do. So we do a lot of team building stuff with, including the cross country team, with the whole track team. We do things in September and October called Walk Wednesdays, where we just do goofy 10-minute race walk competitions and relays and hand out prizes. We do a lot of Halloween costume contests and relays. We do dodgeball tournaments and things like that, just to help this really big group of people get to know each other's names and become familiar with each other, especially with, we brought in 54 freshmen and transfers this year, so trying to get them woven in is also a big part of that. But yeah, I think they're ready to go.
Wanted to look at cross country a little bit, because those athletes now are gearing up for indoor track as well. What did you take away from cross country that maybe you enjoyed, and that gives you some optimism for what they can do on the track as well coming up soon?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so much to look forward to. Cross country, I mean, all things considered, it was an outstanding season, and I don't think we got the finishes at conference that we wanted to, although they were still very good. But we had the best guys team performance from a time standpoint that has happened since probably 2012. These guys are all gonna, and not just the top 7 guys, but guys beyond that are going to be competitive at the GPAC level. And then, of course, what can we do for indoor and outdoor nationals? And then the women, same. We weren't quite at the same level as we were 2 years ago, but we had a very competitive group, and a number of the girls that are our top runners were not able to compete indoor or outdoor last year due to health issues. And so I'm super excited to see how, and I think this is really important to the distance crew, is they talk about this. They want to be impact players to help our track team score as many points as possible. They set goals for that so that we can be a part of the team effort that helps us to win conference championships. And again, what's really cool is, even though we were running 6Ks and 8Ks, we have some very talented middle distance runners, including some freshmen on both men and women, who are going to be impact players this year.
Wanted to ask too, what was that moment like, seeing Keely Green earn All-America honors after a year not competing? She came back strong. It was
an incredible thing. I'm still have thoughts going through my head, and prayers of thanks to God for her and for him helping her through some of the issues and health stuff that she went through, and to have her be able to have a season where she was able to compete really well, and then to make All-American for the first time in a very, very tough nationals. I was just so thankful, and of course proud of her. So much respect for her, and what an awesome human being she is. I'm very grateful that God has allowed me to be a part of her life.
Well, the last time competing in track would have been outdoor nationals way back in May. You talked about the fall semester a little bit already, but what's been maybe some of the focus of your staff as far as recruiting and development and trying to have the best possible teams for this year?
Well, we brought in probably one of the largest groups of freshman guy hurdler jumper sprinters this year that we've done in years, and they are going to make impacts immediately. But we also have some really great girls that came in that were not outside of the distance running group. So very excited to see how they're going to play into the dynamic for GPAC and for nationals. And again, we're already working on next year's class, and we've had a lot of great commitments so far. So again, that's 2 steps ahead of this conversation. But yeah, it's always exciting. It's always it's this curiosity that I have, and I talk with the distance kids about this. It's like, okay, let's focus on this process and not worry so much about the outcomes. You've heard me talk about this before, but it's this idea of like, focus on today, focus on the joy of getting to work hard and face challenges with these incredible men and women that God put in your life right now, and just take care of business, live the life that you need to accomplish those goals. Give it up to God, enjoy this time with your teammates, and the good things are going to happen. And I see that every day. I go on phone calls a lot with seniors, and I'm like, honestly, I can talk all day on the phone. You're gonna have to come here and feel it for yourself. But every single day at practice, what I see, not just with my group, but with the throwers, the vaulters, the sprint hurdle jumpers, every single day, lots of laughter, lots of joking around during warm-ups. They pray together, and then when it's a hard workout, they dial in and get after it. But they're still verbally cheering for each other. They're high-fiving, they're hugging, and then after they're cooling down, they're getting back to and that's a running workout, for instance. But there's just so much positive energy and such a great team family culture on our team where people have each other's backs and they're looking out for each other, and I get chills sometimes just watching them and seeing God working in their lives. So anyway, that's one of my favorite things about it, but I think that's a big part of the synergy that our team has, where you can look at the numbers of, oh, well, we could do this, we could do that, this person has this capability, but I see this every year with Concordia Track, is that we outperform expectations, and I think it's because of the positive team environment where you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it because you don't want to let these people down that are so important to you, and so it's impossible to predict, oh, here's what it's looking like this year, but I think we're top 3 in the conference again on the men's and women's side, and that's always the hope. And then for nationals, just getting some great kids to nationals and making All-American.
One athlete I did want to mention, just because of how incredible her junior season was Adriana Redensel. What can we possibly expect from her as a senior? I know she's always very motivated to continue to up her game, but what do you see from her?
Yeah, Adriana had a huge breakthrough this last year, and a lot of different reasons for that. A part of it's a faith thing as she's grown. Again, these are things she's talked with me about, but also gotten some health stuff figured out, and it really paid off by the time junior year came. And if anything, she is just dialed in. Still a very positive, excited, great teammate, and she's a leader and she's a motivator to others. But I know she's got some big goals for herself. She would love to walk away with a national title before she's done, and that's a tough thing to do. But I think every one of us believes she's capable of it. But again, it's focus on today, focus on this week, and the rest will take care of itself.
Maybe we can give a little bit of an overview on both the men's and women's teams. I know it's there's so many events, it's hard to maybe put it down into a few sentences, but starting with the women, I know they did come off a top 10 national finish outdoor. What is the outlook for them?
Gosh, I mean, well, from a conference perspective, I really think that it's going to be us versus Doane for the conference title again, and that's been a great rivalry going back for decades, and so I think that's something that both teams really want. And again, I think that having a top 2, top 3 conference team means you're going to be nationally relevant because GPAC is so strong and so well represented at nationals. So if you're placing well individually in our conference, you're probably looking at potentially being a national qualifier. And then it's just a matter of how many people can we get to nationals and how does that look? And it's crazy because some years the pieces fall into place, other years we'll have somebody who might make national runner-up in an event in indoor and is expected or at least projected to be able to do something similar, and then just has a bad day and we don't get those points. That is a reality of it, and it could go the other way too. So I think that it's impossible to predict what could happen, but I do think we are a typical top 10 contender at nationals, maybe top 15 for the guys, and so that's always the hope is to be getting a bunch of people there and then taking care of business and seeing how it shakes out.
On the men's side, there's a few athletes returning who have been All-Americans, and certainly others who have competed at nationals. What are you looking for on the men's side?
Yeah, again, it's hard to predict. I think we were a little down in relays for outdoor last year. We haven't had a guys 4x4 that's we've been one guy short of a really, really good national level 4x4 for several years now, after graduating, like Jacob Jennings and Cade Kleckner and some of those guys. And we've just had a guy that's been hurt that's talented or whatever. But I feel like with this year, we have 4x8s, we have 4x4s, that could, for sure make it. And then the question, and then distance medley for indoor, where are we going to be strongest? That's what we're going to look at. But this is probably the deepest group of guy middle distance runners we've had in years, with not only some returners who have really developed, but also some real talent on the freshman side. And I think in the throws and the jumps and the pole vault, there's always can Evan Hill, has been getting better and better. Jax Jacobson's working through some things. Mason's dealing with some injury, so it's uncertain what's going to happen there. And it's impossible for me to go through every event area and say, oh, this might happen or that might happen, because I'll forget somebody. We just have a lot of really dedicated guys who are committed to being the best they can be, and I've had individual meetings with almost every single track team member this fall. I've missed a couple because we had to reschedule and it didn't work out, but just listening to them talk about some of their hopes and goals for the season, I think there's a great enthusiasm to at least give it our best and see how it all works.
I thought it might be worth bringing up the race walk, which is something that has kind of been revived at Concordia now,
yeah.
Especially with Johnny
Right.
Jerkin earning an All-America award indoor. Why has there maybe been a little bit of a focus on that, and how cool was it maybe to see what Johnny was able to do as a freshman?
Well, I think key credit goes to Steve Hoger, the race walk coach. Steve was a national runner-up for us back in the 70s, and he's retired. He's very smart and very knowledgeable, and he's wanting to learn and grow in his knowledge of coaching. And he volunteers as a race walk coach out of the goodness of his heart and has a passion for it. I think what set the stage for that, though, was us as a staff, Ed McLaughlin in particular, who just has a huge thing for the race walk. A lot of respect for it because it's a technical event that also requires endurance, but it's tricky to do, and it's not for everybody. And so finding people who can do it, I think the big thing is over the last 5 years at the national convention, there's probably been 3, maybe 6 years. There's been 3 years where somebody has brought a proposal to the table to get rid of race walk permanently, and of course we always stood up and fought back against that, and were able to stop that direction. And then finally, the third time that this happened about 2 years ago, Ed stood up and said, well, instead of always trying to get rid of the race walk, and he was just gave this impassioned speech in front of all the NAIA coaches, he's like, why don't we put together a committee to try to figure out how to promote race walk. It's an Olympic sport. It's something that's big in Europe, and it's a very important event. We're the only people that provide it, so let's promote it and grow it rather than always talking about getting rid of it. And so a committee was formed. He's on that, and so we've been working both within our program but also nationally to try to influence and provide opportunities for race walkers. And so we now host race walk at all of our meets. Ryan Mahoney at Hastings is a big proponent of race walk also, and so between his meets and our meets, we have a lot of race walk opportunities that didn't exist 3 years ago. And we invite people from a lot of different places. Coach Hoger took 4 of our male race walkers to Ohio recently to do a workshop with some internationally renowned race walk coaches, and they did kind of an unattached, unofficial time trial for the 3K, which is their indoor race. Johnny would have blown away his time from last year. Luke Hamming, who has qualified indoor and outdoor for 3 different times, has always gotten DQ'd at nationals because of a weird knee thing. And finally, they figured something out with the help of one of the coaches in just the cues that they were giving him on how to push off. And I think we might have fixed it. So he was able to get through a 3K with some really good judges. I think he's got potential to make All-American. And then you had freshman Jack Habegger and Samuel Olson. I don't want to spend it all about race walk, but you asked, so
Right.
you can tell I'm excited about it. No, I'm really happy for that. We've got several other guys trying it, and then Paige Schuster is a freshman from Oregon, and she's working on it and trying it as well. And so we'll see how that goes.
As far as, I think a lot of good teams have juniors and seniors who are good leaders and who have shown development over time. What can you say maybe about some of the upperclassmen in the program, and how much have you enjoyed having them around? Some of them 2 or 3 years now.
Oh man, I have so much respect for them, and as I've gotten to know each of them individually even better over the years, I see how much they've grown maturity-wise, spiritually, leadership-wise. And we have 170 kids on our team, and I've met with almost every one of them at least once, if not more. And I ask them a lot of questions about who do they want to be as a team member, and who do they, what are some of their expectations that they have for themselves from a performance level? What are some things that they want to try to do better this year? And so a lot of them, especially the older ones, have talked about how they want to lead by example, lead verbally, get kids into their Bible studies and things like that. And I know just one example, Adriana and I talked earlier in the fall, and she's like, how can, it was just kind of floating, what are some ways that I can get all of us even more on the same page within our event group? I'm like, there's nothing preventing you from getting all the girls together and sitting down and going, what do we want to get out of this, and how can we all work together more in the same direction, because it's what we do with the distance kids every year. Mm-hmm. And they did it, and I think the guys did too, and so I see fruits of that coming out, just things that pop up, activities they do together, themes for the week, just all kinds of fun things that are student-led. As I tell my athletes, some of the most important leadership things and memories that I have from my time here were not things that my coaches told me to do. It was all things within our training group where we're going to do this. The coach didn't know about most of it, and it wasn't bad things. It was us just saying, we're 22 years old. We don't need someone leading us by the hand to create opportunities to grow together as a team. Mm-hmm. And we've got married kids on our team. Okay, there are young adults who are forging their way in the world, and so you look at the maturity of that junior senior group, and some of our sophomores too, who show a lot of leadership. And you couldn't ask for more.
All right, we got the early bird meet coming up a couple weeks, or next week as we record this. What excites you most about that meet, and now getting to see some people compete for at least the first time this season? Yeah,
I think all of us are, like I said earlier, just pumped to see where we're at. And when you have 110 people that have been training nonstop all fall, and they're ready to see what they're capable of. This is the meet they've been working towards, because then we have finals and go on break for 3.5 weeks before we start competing again. So I think everybody, again, not in a bad way, but have expectations. Like, I'm curious to see what I can do. What am I capable of? What is this going to look like? And again, so many freshmen who've never run some of these events or thrown a weight throw or whatever the case may be. And we have quite a big group of guy multis in addition to our women. So our pentathletes and heptathletes, a lot of newcomers who are really clicking together and having a lot of fun with it. And so I'm fairly curious to see how that goes, because that's always an interesting event. So yeah, I mean, we always like to walk away with some potential national qualifiers and some good marks. And the way I always look at it is if you compete at Early Bird and then it's almost 4 months or 4 weeks until we come back together, you're going to learn one of two things. You're either going to go, oh my gosh, I'm in a good place. I don't want to lose that, so that's going to motivate me to do the stuff on my own when it's dark and cold and I'm by myself for 4 weeks. Or, man, I'm not close to where I want to be. I really need to get my act together. That's how it was for me as a college student. And then that motivates them. And I think either way, it's a win-win. The motivation comes from looking at how you do in this first meet and saying, okay, is that the trajectory that I want my season to be on, and what do I need to do to continue that or to change that? And that's what a smart thinking athlete will do.
All right, I was just going to ask, finally, just got through Thanksgiving week. What are you most thankful for right now?
My wife and family, 100%. I love my wife, Jill, and she's a blessing. So much respect for her. She's always got projects and things. We just moved out to an acreage, and I've been helping her. Like, she put together these plans for a big chicken run that's all really nicely decorated with a galvanized metal roof, and she had custom made trusses. And so a lot of Thanksgiving I was driving down to some Amish guy down in south of here in Beaver Crossing and picking up trusses, and I learned how to put stringers and trusses and how to screw galvanized metal roof on, and it's a fun project to do together. But she's just so full of energy and life, and does such a great job with our kids. And then my son Jonah and my daughter Keegan, and so yeah, very, very thankful for them, among many other things.